Hi, this is your host Swapnil Bhartia, and welcome to TFiR Success Stories, a series on how modern companies are leveraging Linode's open source and cloud native technologies. And joining us today is Nguyen, founder of JohnnyVPS. Johnny, first of all, it's great to have you on the show.
Very nice. Thanks for having me here, Swap. I'm happy to be here and happy to chat with you.
Right, I have heard a lot about you. So I want to start with your story because if I look at JohnnyVPS, it's a typical open source story that we hear, open source story or in general where we try to scratch our own itch and then we come up with a solution that everybody else wants to use. So tell me the story of JohnnyVPS.
It's a classic story of me just being a very unhappy business owner and wasn't able to find a hosting solution that fit my needs. Either weren't reliable or wasn't performant, or the infrastructure or the workflow was just not convenient for the way that we like to work on a daily basis. So after trying so many different providers, I had no choice but to just simply create my own solution. And I was very happy with that. And not surprisingly, our end clients were also very happy with it. They too wanted to be on our servers and be within our daily workflow. And so we had what was pretty much a private service that was only for our in-house clients. We released it to the public and we just kept growing from there.
Can you tell me what exactly is this service? What are you offering? And as you said, that you yourself were not finding the solution. So what were you doing where you had specific needs to offer your either services or content to the world that you had to come up with your own solution?
What we had was just high traffic websites. That would be the first issue, the first growing pains. Back then, about 10 years ago, all sites were pretty fast. They weren't as bloated and slow as today with all the fancy effects and page builders and whatnot. So sites back then were pretty fast. If you had growing pains, it was either because your current hosting provider was terrible or you just had so much traffic that it was time to grow into a real server. So for me, it was the latter case. I just had too much traffic on my sites. We were blowing up left and right. Our clients were blowing up, we were blowing up, and it was time to move to a faster server. And once we hit that growing pain, you go through, you start to try all the different solutions, a different stack, different server configurations, different server providers, and at some point you find what becomes a working solution for you. And then we simply replicated it across all our client servers as well.
Can you talk about what kind of infrastructure you have? Because if I'm not wrong, you also work closely with Linode. So talk about the backend, the cloud side of your infrastructure.
For our backend infrastructure, I'm a huge fan of Linode. Unless a client specifies otherwise, I love to use Linode as much as possible. They've been the most reliable for me over the years, over different geographical regions, all hours of the day. I don't have performance issues. I don't have I/O issues. I don't have network issues. Their support is very personable and friendly. I'm just a big fan. I've been using them for over a decade. I've tried the others. I've tried DigitalOcean, Vultr, UpCloud, Amazon, of course. But Linode is my main backend provider of choice, for sure.
Now, there are a couple of things that I want to ask, that why you like Linode. The disclosure, TFiR also runs on Linode, and there are the reasons that you mentioned are there. But there are a couple of things that I personally love about them, and working closely with them, I have learned more about the backend story. Number one is that their support. There are no those kind of bots. You actually talk to an actual person. So you are not just another ticket or not another cattle. You are actually a pet. They treat you like that. Number one. Number two is that if you go to AWS, other providers, the cost, you need to be mathematicians to figure out the cost, how much is going to cost. You don't know beforehand. And number three is that they continue to innovate. They're offering GPUs, they're offering Kubernetes-based services. So talk about some of the key factors that contributed towards using or working with them.
You brought up such a great point, because until you use these providers for a long time and on enough scale, it's really hard to see the difference. When you look out there are many providers that they all promise the same thing, and they have what seems to be similar services, but until you use them, you don't notice. For me, what really stands out about Linode, for the first thing I'd like to say is their scalability. It's very easy to scale with Linode. Let's take Amazon S3, for example. You sign up, and just to start your first server and open the firewall and get things running, it's already a hassle. It's already 50 clicks in to get your first server up and running, open to the public, with an instance, with a Linux instance on there. It's a hassle. Let's take another provider. Let's say DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean's UI, just their design, I'm not talking about anything else, just their design alone. Let's say you open 10 servers, you open 10 droplets, they call their instances droplets. The page is like this. It's already 2 pages long. You have to scroll off the screen just to see all 10 servers. With Linode, you can see maybe 30 servers on the same screen. So even just the UI alone is that much more convenient for me to monitor more servers. Their prices, as you said, very predictable, very easy to understand. They also have the right number of services, right? It's not like a crazy amount. It's not a directory of cloud services like Amazon, but it's also not so limited where it's just VPS and that's it. I love the block storage. Block storage is a big one for me. GPU I haven't used, but I appreciate it. I can definitely imagine maybe somebody's running gaming servers or Bitcoin mining or whatnot, be very useful. But I like that Linode has a wide enough range of servers that you don't have to open an account elsewhere. That's the big deal, because once you're running over 20, 30 servers, you're going to want everything in one place. Linode offers that. I can have everything in one place. They have many different data center regions. Other providers do not. They have many different levels of, from the smallest instances to the really large instances. And then, of course, you have your CPU optimized instances. You have your GPU optimized instances, memory optimized instances. So it's just their wide range of services, very easy UI, great performance. And as you said, the support is awesome. I love that when I write a ticket into support, it's funny because every time I reply and I leave a reply, I might get a different technician replying to the thread, but they talk as if they understand the issue. Whereas with another provider, the next technician to come on, they jump on, it's like, hello, it's like deja vu, or not deja vu, but we got to start all over, have the same conversation all over again. So all around, I mean, it's just easy. I've been with them for years, and I still have accounts with other providers as well. So I can see side by side on a daily basis what I prefer.
You also mentioned earlier that they are also available in different regions. How does that affect either your customer base or client base? And how does that help in catering? Of course, I can understand Europe, where they have GDPR. Sometimes you want to keep the local data in the local country. But can you talk about the benefits you get by having, of course, latency is one, but are there any factors also?
Yes, well, like I said, it's all being able to have a one-stop shop. So Linode has, I think, 2 locations are very high in demand and special locations. One would be the Australian location. The other one is the Mumbai location. And there are many providers that don't have those 2 locations. So without them, you would have to get an account with a second provider just for that. And that means you lose your volume discount. You have to separate your support. You have, if you have an issue with the server, you'll have to remember, oh no, this is on another account. You have to log in somewhere else, deal with another support team. So I appreciate them having as many geographical locations as they do. It's just that much easier, especially when you're a company you're growing beyond the small point where you're no longer a regional company, you're an international company. And you need a provider that is international as well and can support you in many different continents. So Linode does that, and they do it beautifully, and I'm very happy.
Johnny, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story, which is first of all fun story to hear. How you were scratching your own itch. You build your service, and now you are helping others. And also, you talk about the community aspect also, where it's more important really to help people, and that leads to trust, and that leads to a very successful business also. So you have a very good story, and also thanks for sharing how you are leveraging Linode's technologies to help your customers and clients. And I would look forward to talk to you again. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was great talking to you.